We're from Galliford Try, a construction company that's working locally within Buckinghamshire, and we cover England. We're here today to talk about maths, ratio and proportion. So I'm Graham Bucknell. I'm a regional manager for Galliford Try, working in the highways division. I'm a chartered civil engineer with over 24 years experience in construction. I've worked all across the UK, building such things as airports, ports and harbours, rail and road infrastructure, and flood and coastal defences. And that's typical of a career in construction. It's a very varied industry. Every project is different, every day is different. It's a really interesting industry to work in. So why do we need maths? Well, all of the roles in construction need maths in some form, day in, day out. It's what we use as the bedrock to engineering and construction. We've set some pre-work exercises where we show how we use ratio, proportion and percentages in simple tasks such as building a new brick wall. And on the photograph, you can see a project that my team finished last year up in Rugby in Warwickshire, where we built a new link road and a big bridge over the Oxford Canal. So maths played a big part in delivering that scheme. So take this bridge, for example. The design engineers have to work out the weight of the bridge, how the traffic travelling over the bridge add weight and add forces from the braking and acceleration, how the wind acts on the bridge, and how all those weights and loads transfer down into the foundations so that they can then size and design the foundations to the right size so the bridge is stable, it doesn't fall over. When we're building the bridge, we need to know the weight of the beams so that we can lift them. We need to know the volume of concrete so we can buy the right amount. We need to know how many bricks to buy. From that, we need to work out how long it's going to take us, how much it costs. So maths is just involved every day in everything that we do. So expanding a little bit on the lifting, planning a lifting operation with a crane is highly dependent on good math skills. We just couldn't do it without maths. So our engineer needs to work out the weight that needs to be lifted. So you can see on the photograph, we're lifting a grey concrete culvert. This will take a river underneath the road. And it's not an easy shape. It's a bit of an odd shape. So working out the volume of concrete and therefore the weight of that structure before we lift it is a vital piece of information. From that, then we can work out the weight that is transmitted through each of the chains that lift onto the hook, and you can see that the chains are at different angles, so we have to make sure that each chain takes the same weight ideally, because if one starts taking more weight, then it puts it more at risk of breaking, and we don't want to break anything because then the load falls, it breaks the lorry, it breaks the concrete and potentially hurts people. From there, then those loads work their way down through the crane, and the crane actually sits on 4 legs. So we then have to work out how much of that weight transfers to each leg. And as the crane turns round, each leg will take a different amount of weight. And then from there, we work out how strong the ground has to be, or if we have to put any mats down or steel plates, so the crane can then be stable and balanced on the ground, because we don't want the crane to fall over. That crane on its own, it's a very large crane, that's probably worth £10 million. So if that falls over, that's £10 million worth of crane that needs to be replaced and repaired. So clearly avoiding that is what we have to do. And maths is what we use to avoid that. All construction work is priced and planned based on outputs. So if we're building a new road or a new house, we have to put drainage in the ground. So how many pipes do we need for our new drain? So we would count off the drawings, off the 3D model, the length of the pipe run, and we'd know how long the pipe is that we buy, and that will give us how many pieces of pipe. We also need to know how many pipes can we actually lay in a day. So that's digging the trench, putting the pipe in, filling the trench back in, and how many people and how many machines do we need to be able to do that. So all of these are vital pieces of information, and our planners then take that and work out based on the length of the pipe and what the outputs are, how many days it's going to take us, and from that, how and the number of people and the number of machines, what the cost is of building that pipe run. So that's how we produce our quotations when we're pricing a job, and ultimately also how we get paid. Designers that design the bridges, the roads, the buildings, the houses, they create drawings using computer-aided design, so CAD. They also use computer packages that work out calculations, but sometimes they also do them by hand. As contractors, we take those CAD drawings and we convert them into the real product. So first stage of that is converting a CAD drawing or a 3D model into quantities. So how many curbs do we need to buy? How many bricks do we need to buy? So we have to work out, for example, the area of road. Therefore, we can work out how much tarmac we need. We can also use that to work out a volume. So you can see on the photograph here, this is a bridge pier, so the bridge foundation. So this is a big rectangular box made out of something called formwork, which is basically timber sheets with bracing on the back, and into that we pour the wet ready-mix concrete. So this box here, our engineer would have had to work out exactly how much concrete he needed to buy to fill that up. So to put that into perspective, that box holds around 50 tons of concrete. Concrete is £200 per ton. Therefore, the value of concrete going into that one box alone is £10,000. So if we get that wrong, it gets very expensive very quickly. And if we buy too much, then obviously we've wasted material. That's bad for the environment. It's bad for cost. If we buy too little, then we've not finished the job fast enough. We might have to start again the following day. So again, it's bad for cost. It's bad for the environment. It creates waste. So it's really critical that we are accurate with our maths in working out volumes. We also use percentages. So how do we get paid each week? Well, the fast way of getting paid on a weekly basis is by using a percentage. This is because when we're building large elements, it can take many weeks and many months to finish. So building a house typically takes 4 months to build, and a road can take many months or even many years, depending on how big the road is, how long and where it is. So by working out what percentage is complete, it gives us just a quick and easy way to work out how much we should be paid. So for example, on this job where you can see the photograph, we had to build a 2,000 metre long road, and it was going to take us 18 months to build that road. Digging out the foundation, after 1 week, we'd completed 200 metres, and it was easy to assess the 200 metres. We have something called a measuring wheel. So we just walk alongside the foundation that we've built, and it measures the length. So we've finished 200 metres, that's 10%. Therefore, we can ask the customer to give us 10% of the value of the works. And that means each week then we can pay our wages, we can pay for the machines, we can pay for the fuel, we can pay for the stone, and we're not then running in debt. Over to you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much, Graham. Good morning all, I'm Dave Cooper. I'm a senior project manager within Galliford Try. I've got over 23 years of experience in construction, working for contractors in a wide variety of sectors, some of which are listed there. You're probably wondering what a senior project manager does. Well, I'm basically the lead figure on projects that we deliver. We obviously have teams of people involved with projects, but ultimately I'm at the head of the team and ultimately responsible for the projects. So that's my role. Next slide, please, Graham. Not sure if you're aware, but as Galliford Try, we are a large construction company working across the UK. I think we're certainly in the top 10, top 5 sort of area of size of company within the UK. We build things like schools, hospitals, offices, roads and railways, which is in the 5 years I've been here is what I've been involved with, the roads and railways side of things. We are a company that regularly wins awards for numerous things, and we're very much a people type company. The company invests heavily in all our training for all our people, to enable them to develop as best they can, and that in turn obviously has benefits, because better trained and better people hopefully mean a better company and a more progressive company for Galliford Try. Next slide, please, Graham. Why are we kind of here today? Well, part of the reason is that we're involved with Buckinghamshire Council on a project called Sealer, which is South East Aylesbury Link Road. There's basically three parties involved. Buckinghamshire Council are the client, we are the contractor, and then we have our design partners, which are AECOM. South East Aylesbury Link Road is a project that's in the process of being designed and planned. It's hoping to hit sites at some stage next year. In that photo there, you can see actually an artist's impression of it. It is a 1.2 kilometre long new dual carriageway, basically leading up embankments either side. You can see just in the middle there is actually a new bridge to go over the Marylebone to Aylesbury railway line as part of the scheme. For those of you that know the area well, it is proposed to go between Wendover Road and Lower Road to the south of Aylesbury. So we're involved with that. We're doing early contractor involvement, so we're assisting the council as the client and AECOM as the designer to hopefully make things more efficient and better, so that when we hit site running, and any sort of issues or potential problems have been ironed out to make everything as efficient as possible. Next slide, please, Graham. So construction covers many different careers and roles. The obvious ones are things that probably people think about, like bricklayers and joiners and stuff like that, but it goes far beyond that. You know, we have everything from designers and engineers, we have commercial people, with project managers like myself, you have architects, ecologists, archaeologists, and then you've got the tradespeople I've mentioned, like bricklayers and joiners and plasterers and all the rest of it. So there's lots of different roles in and lots of different types of organisations in construction, all of which need a wide variety of people. We have support roles, certainly within Galliford Try. You know, we have systems peoples, because we all have systems that we run and adhere to. Everything nowadays is done on computers. So we have various systems IT systems that we use to help produce documentation, to share documentation, and assist us in building things. So, you know, we have IT teams back in our offices that support us. We have CAD, computer-aided design technicians, all in offices supporting us, what I call on the front line, actually delivering projects. We also end up with people like accountants. Some like a company like Galliford Try is obviously a contractor. We have shareholders to appease, which obviously means making money. So they keep an eye on what we spend, and hopefully we don't spend too much. Otherwise, you know, we potentially could go out of business, and that's obviously not good for our shareholders. But we also have people like safety teams and quality teams that assist us to make sure that what we build is built right first time. And also, you know, the safety team, very important in construction, to make sure everything is done safely. On the photo there, that's actually a photo taken at AECOM, our design partners' offices in St Albans. It's a bit of a training session, that meeting, taken a while ago, on one of the systems we use. So just to show you the types of roles that are involved, sat around that table. Starting on the left, you've got Kirsty, who's our office manager. Next to Kirsty, she's hidden a little bit about Kirsty, but you've got Linda, who's our systems manager. Moving to the opposite side of the table, you've got Ali, who's our planner, who basically produces programs and helps us plan things so that we make sure things are run efficiently. We've then got Caroline, who's our quantity surveyor. Next to Caroline is Kev, who's basically equivalent to me, a senior PM. Next to Kev on the phone is a guy called Steve. He's the client's project manager. And then the two people sat at the end with the laptops are two of AECOM's design people. So you can see from that photo, there's a wide variety of people involved in the meeting there. Next slide, please, Graham. So in construction, there's a few key skills, and that can vary from role to role. Maths is obviously a big one, and that's across the board, regardless of what your job role is or what you're doing. You know, to be a designer, engineer, a quantity surveyor, maths is essential. Good IT, as I mentioned, everything's on computers now, and good organisational skills. you know, even as a project manager, I regularly use maths because I'm working things out for my own peace of mind, or checking on things and the rest of it. But even as tradespeople, you know, their sort of key problem solving is a big one. That they tend to be the one when we're building things that suddenly discover we've got a bit of an issue. So they're sort of the first port of call. So, you know, those type of people are very practical, good at solving skills from experience and knowledge and the rest of it, but also have very good communication skills. So, you know, communication is a key thing. As I said, you know, it's a team industry. Myself as a project manager, I can't do everything to deliver a project. I need other people to join with me and pull together. And so it's very much a team industry, and communication is a key thing along with maths. Next slide, please, Graham. So career paths, there are many different sort of ways into construction. The sort of first one is the vocational trades, which is your trades such as your bricklayers, your joiners, your plasterers, and they tend to take a BTEC or NVQ sort of route. We as GT take on apprentices in those types of things, that they do training on site, working on our sites, but also do sort of day releases at college. So they run in hand. Management supervision, that's the category I'm in. My route into the industry was, I went to school, obviously, did maths at school, quite enjoyed it. I then did A-levels, did maths again then, and quite enjoyed that again. Went on to do a degree in civil and structural engineering, which, full enough, involved maths again. I then graduated and started life as a site engineer, and I progressed my way up to senior contracts manager. And full enough, in the 20 odd years I've been doing that, I'm using maths on a regular basis. So, you know, that's one route into management and supervision. However, that's not hard and fast. I have friends and colleagues who have taken alternative routes and actually have been tradespeople, and then have trained and showed initiative and have been developed, and have ended up becoming project managers or senior project managers, or even higher. So it's an industry that is open for all, and it's an industry that, you know, I believe is one that, if you're prepared to work hard and show initiative, there's no limit on how far you can go. You can go as far or as little as what you want. So, you know, there's various different ways in. Design and technical roles, so they do apprenticeship, the design type companies as well. They take on people like CAD technicians and the like. I would say on the design side of things, the engineers do generally tend to have degrees, because it is quite technical in some of the maths and calculations and the packages they use. So that would be more of a degree route, whereas the first two are there's numerous ways into that. Next slide, please, Graham. So I believe you should have been issued with some of our career guides, which hopefully give you a little bit more information on some of the roles we have in Galliford Try. So I'd like to thank you for listening, and I think we're ready to take any questions you may have.
That's fantastic. That's brilliant. Right, so we are going to have some questions, but I think that was a real good presentation on understanding. I certainly enjoyed it, to understand maths, like ratio and proportion. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I did read the title and I was like, well, how interesting can this be? And actually, you proved me wrong. And it's interesting to see the way that maths is applied. I did particularly like that picture of the crane and working out the weight of is it called a culvert?
Yes, yeah.
So I'm guessing something like that, you can't just whack it on a weighing scale and see how much it weighs, right?
No. Those units were 26 tons each, so
wow. Quite
a big weight. But yeah, we get to play with big boys' toys every day. So yeah, it's good.
I see that. So obviously maths is important, and I did like the slide. And for those students that are watching, pay attention to that slide that was up there about the different areas and the different careers you can have in this industry, because there's a lot. There is a lot from the technical side to the drawing side, to the administrative side, to the engineering side. There's a lot that goes on in a company, like a construction company like this, which is in your area, working on projects in your area. There are so many roles. Not all of them need maths, but as you can see, maths is actually pretty important for a lot of these roles to be able to understand how to do these projects safely and within budget. With that, I've got some questions for you chaps that have been sent in, and I believe these were sent in by the Chiltern Hills Academy. One of the questions is, for both of you, did you want to do this job when you were at school?
Yes.
You did.
I chose my career path at 15. So when I chose my GCSEs, I knew that I wanted to be a civil engineer. It was something that always fascinated me. So yes, I chose my GCSEs knowing which A levels I wanted to do, knowing that I wanted to do a civil engineering degree. So yeah, it was always something that interested me.
Brilliant.
Dad's a mechanical engineer, so I think there was engineering in the family. So I got a feel for it. But yeah, I've always been fascinated with diggers, basically.
Fair enough. Dave, was that the same for you?
Yes, yeah, pretty much so. I think one of the key things for me really was there's a bit of a history in my family of people going into construction. My father was a quantity surveyor, estimator. My grandfather was a buyer for a large construction company. My uncle's a builder, so it was kind of in the blood. I think one of the things that I realised whilst at school was I was lucky enough to be given some work experience, which the school did. And unfortunately, 14 or 15 or whatever age I was, construction wasn't really an option then, because obviously of the age and the safety aspect of it. So they sent me off to work in a bank for a week, and I absolutely hated it. I didn't like the fact that you couldn't get out and about. So it kind of reinforced then that I wanted to do something where you're not just sat in an office all day, and construction gives you that, because especially out on site, yes, there's times when you are in the office, but you also get to go out and see things being built. And it's if you like being outdoors as well, it's obviously a good industry. So yeah, I certainly did, and chose my career path accordingly.
There's a really interesting piece of advice in there as well, because for those students that have been on other lessons through this week with the Buck Skills Show and have heard me present, have probably heard me say that at a young age, it's okay to not know what you want to do, and it's okay to change your mind later on. But also when you're looking around, and sometimes you will have experiences which will show you what you don't want to do, like Dave just explained, and those are really valuable as well. There's nothing wrong with trying something and not being sure whether you're going to like it or not, trying it and finding out you don't like it, because then that will push you towards what you do like, which is exactly what Dave has just explained. There are jobs that are indoors, there are jobs that are outdoors. Everything is different. Go and find what you enjoy and what you like. So with that, because we are talking about maths and in this industry, we got two good questions. Let's go with the one in the chat box. How much time do you spend outdoors and how much time do you spend in the office?
It varies depending on what your role is exactly. So as graduate engineers, the tradespeople obviously spend a great deal of time outdoors. As senior managers, myself and Dave, we'll typically visit our site certainly once a day. So we'll spend a couple of hours across the week out on site, because we need to see what's going on. We need to see what people are doing, check for any problems. So I look after the region, so I look after the south of England, but I will still visit each of my sites every week, and that will involve walking around the site or being driven around the site, getting out and seeing what's going on. So I'm still very closely involved with the site works, rather than just being sat in an office dealing with paperwork. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, when I first came into the industry, Graham will be the same. I was a site engineer, so as an engineer, you tend to spend probably 90% of your time out on site, 10% in the office doing paperwork type of thing. You tend to find as you grow up the ranks, you spend probably less time out on site, because you're more into strategy and overall management rather than the hands-on. That said, I do like to get out and about. I didn't come into the industry to sit in an office. I came in to build things. As Graham alluded to earlier, we get to play with some big boys' toys, which is always good fun. So things like crane lifts. It's I love anything like that. Planning big crane lifts, like those culverts and big bridge beams and rest of it. I love the planning, but it's a brilliant feeling when you've done it and it's all gone right and everything fits and everything. That feeling's pretty special, actually. So yeah, I don't spend as much time out on site as probably I used to, but I love being out on site, and having the option to actually go out on site is good.
And I suppose you alluded to the point there that the planning in those things is really, really important. Hence why it is important to be able to be competent in the correct side of maths and engineering on these things, things that I don't understand. We do have a questions. So when we look at it, which maths topics do you have to be good at?
So we've obviously given a few examples today. So ratio and proportion, area, volume, percentages, you know, the basics, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then trigonometry. So working out volumes, working out angles. Trigonometry is probably the bedrock alongside ratio and proportion. We couldn't work without those. Forces and the calculations that we do to design things are all based around trigonometry. So yeah, those are the sort of the bedrocks really. Calculus, when you get into it, when you get to university, calculus comes in, although nowadays a lot of that's done within the computer software, but you know, engineers are still taught it from first principles at a degree level. But yeah, it's basic day in, day out, ratio, proportion, and trigonometry.
Fantastic. Okay. There is a question here about the marine industry. And I don't know if you guys know about this, but the question does ask which projects take place in the marine industry.
Sorry, Max, again.
Which projects take place in the marine industry?
In the marine industry, you've got it covers various things. So I mean, it can cover things like building offshore wind turbines. It can involve installing communications across, you know, say across the English Channel and that type of thing. But it also involves things like sort of defences, all sorts of different things. Anything that, you know, that can be built or needs to be built on the coast is basically classed as a marine type environment, and that could be all sorts of things. I mean, I've been involved with ports and harbours as Graham has, bridges, sort of flood defences. You know, we don't just have flood defences inland. We have flood defences on the coast in various different places. I spent a few years working for one particular company doing that type of thing. So yeah, you got to play around on boats and barges and that type of thing. All big kits, big boys' toys again, and all good fun. Only trouble sometimes was that with working coastal type things, you're working around tides. So it might be that your working day shifts that you might not be doing a sort of a 7:30 till 5, which is a sort of a standard construction site day. You might be working overnight because that's when the tide's right and that type of thing. So yeah, it's a very interesting industry with big kits, certainly in the marine environment, and good fun.
So it sounds like it's going back to the same point again. It's that planning and using the data that you have to analyze and make sure you're in the right place at the right time. And also let's bring it together. I mean, we're talking about maths and ratio and proportion, but from a simple subject that you can study at school, Dave and Graham have really shown you and opened up a whole industry which takes you to so many different places. We're talking on land, off land, working with big pieces of machinery, big projects, house building projects, huge projects, like they've said, to build ports, harbors. That's a lot of different areas of work that you can go into just from one simple subject. Simple, but a really important subject. And because it is 11:45, I'm conscious the session's about to finish. I've got one last question for the both of you. It's an interesting one. What is the biggest and most expensive project that you guys have worked on yet, or so far? Biggest and most expensive project.
I'd say for myself, it was actually my first job out of university was working on Manchester Airport. So I was part of the team that rebuilt Manchester Airport 24 years ago. Wow. What is now Terminal 3 basically, and half of Terminal 1. So yeah, that was, you know, billions of a development over 5 or 6 years. So yeah, really big, interesting project, and getting to see Concorde land and Jumbo's land every day was amazing.
Fantastic. And Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably slightly differently, because before joining Galliford Try, I worked for smaller companies. So my most expensive was probably my last project, which was a big roads infrastructure project in Northamptonshire, which was around about 55 million, I think it was. But what I would say is it's not necessarily the value of the project. I've had some quite low value projects that have been very tricky but satisfying in doing. And I've also been very lucky that I've worked on some landmark projects. I've had a spell working for a company where we did an awful lot of bridges. And back in sort of around the year 2000, there was an awful lot of bridges built around the country to celebrate the millennium. And it's quite regular that I'm watching television and something's on from a part of the company that I worked in, and in there in the background is a bridge that I was involved with, so which is quite satisfying. That's one to share with the family and say, you know, bit of pride that, you know, I worked on that. So yeah,
absolutely, I bet it is. That's fantastic. Well, it is 11:47. Dave, Graham, thank you so much for coming along today to present. I found it really interesting, and I'm sure the students have as well. And like we said, look, they've provided you with lots of information about the types of work, careers that you can have in that industry, just using, I won't say a simple subject, but it is a simple subject like mathematics. And there's a lot to explore. Do your research, have a look and see what's exciting. And if you're inspired to play with those big toys, then I think go for it. So Graham, Dave, thank you so much for today. Really appreciate it. And obviously, thank you to the students today for coming along, listening, taking part, engaging and asking questions. We appreciate that as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Yes, thank you.